Welcome back to Yehusha's Glory. We are picking it up at chapter 26 of Jasher, page 346. We had just got done going through the birth order of a bunch of children of the families. And now we're going to pick it up here. It's going to cover the birth of Esau and Yaakov. So chapter 26, page 346, Sefer, and it reads, "And in the 59th year of the life of Isaac, the son of Abraham, Rivkah, his woman, was still barren in those days. And Rivkah said unto Isaac, Truly, I have heard, my lord, that your mother Sarah was barren in her days, until my lord Abraham your father prayed for her, and she conceived by him. Now therefore stand up, pray you also to Elohim, and he will hear your prayer and remember us through his mercies. And Isaac answered his woman Rivkah, saying, Abraham has already prayed for me to Elohim to multiply his seed. Now therefore this barrenness must proceed to us from you. And Rivkah said unto him, But arise now you also and pray, that Yehusha may hear your prayer and grant me children. And Isaac hearkened to the words of his woman. And Isaac and his woman rose up and went to the land of Moriah to pray there and to seek Yehusha. And when they had reached that place, Isaac stood up and prayed to Yehusha on account of his woman, because she was barren. And Isaac said, O Yahweh Elohim of heaven and earth, whose goodness and mercies fill the earth, you who did take my father from his father's house and from his birthplace, and did bring him unto this land, and did say unto him, To your seed will I give the land. And you did promise him, and did declare unto him, I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven, and as the sand of the sea. Now may your words be verified, which you did speak unto my father, for you are Yahuwah Eloheinu. Our eyes are toward you, to give us seed of men, as you did promise us, for you are Yahuwah Eloheinu. And our eyes are directed toward you only. And you heard the prayers of Isaac and the son of Abraham, and Yahuwah was entreated of him. And Rivkah his woman conceived. And in about 7 months after, the children struggled together within her. And it pained her greatly that she was wearied on account of them. And she said to all the women who were then in the land, Did such a thing happen to you as it has to me? And they said unto her, No. And she said unto them, Why am I alone in this amongst all the women that were upon earth? And she went to the land of Moriah to seek Yahuwah on account of this. And she went to Shem and Eber, his son, to make inquiries of them in this matter, and that they should seek Yahuwah in this thing respecting her. She also asked Abraham to seek and inquire of Yahuwah about all that had befallen her. And they all inquired of Yahuwah concerning this matter, and they brought her word from Yahuwah, and told her, 2 children are in your womb, and 2 nations shall rise from them. And one nation shall be stronger than the other, and the greater shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were completed, she knelt down, and behold, there were twins in her womb, as Yahuwah had spoken to her. And the first came out red all over, like a hairy garment. And all the people of the land called his name Esau, saying that this one was made complete from the womb. And after that came his brother, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. Therefore they called his name Yaakov, or Jacob. And Isaac, the son of Abraham, was 60 years old when he begat them. And the boys grew up to their 15th year, and they came amongst the society of men. Esau was a designing and deceitful man, and an expert hunter in the field. And Jacob, or Yaakov, was a man perfect and wise, dwelling in tents, feeding flocks, and learning the instructions of Yahuwah and the commands of his father and mother. And Isaac and the children of his household dwelt with his father Abraham in the land of Canaan, as Elohim had commanded them. And Ishmael, the son of Abraham, went with his children and all belonging to them, and they returned there to the land of Shavilah. And they dwelt there. And all the children of Abraham's concubines went to dwell in the land of the east. For Abraham had sent them away from his son, and had given them presents, and they went away. And Abraham gave all that he had to his son Isaac, and he also gave him all his treasures. And he commanded him, saying, Do you not know and understand Yahuwah is Elohim in heaven and in earth, and there is no other beside him? And it was he who took me from my father's house and from my birthplace, and gave me all the delights upon earth, who delivered me from the counsel of the wicked, for in him did I trust. And he brought me to this place, and he delivered me from Ur-Kasdim. And he said unto me, To your seed will I give all these lands, and they shall inherit them when they guard my commandments, my statutes, and my judgments that I have commanded you, and which I shall command them. Now therefore, my son, hearken to my voice, and guard the commandments of Yahuwah Elohika, which I commanded you. Do not turn from the right way either to the right or to the left, in order that it may be well with you and your children after you forever. And remember the wonderful works of Yahuwah and his kindness that he has shown toward us in having delivered us from the hands of our enemies. And Yahuwah Eloheinu caused them to fall into our hands. And now therefore guard all that I have commanded you, and turn not away from the commandments of your Elohim, and serve none beside him, in order that it may be well with you and your seed after you. And teach your children and your seed the instructions of Yahuwah and his commandments, and teach them the upright way in which they should go, in order that it may be well with them forever. And Isaac answered his father and said unto him, That which my Adonai has commanded, that will I do, and I will not depart from the commands of Yahuwah Eloi. I will guard all that he commanded me. And Abraham blessed his son Isaac and also his children. And Abraham taught Yaakov the instruction of Yahuwah and his ways. And it was at that time that Abraham died, in the 15th year of the life of Yaakov and Esau, the sons of Isaac. And all the days of Abraham were 175 years, and he died and was gathered to his people in good old age, old and satisfied with his days. Old and satisfied with days. And Isaac and Ishmael his sons buried him. And when the inhabitants of Canaan heard that Abraham was dead, they all came with their kings and princes and all their men to bury Abraham. And all the inhabitants of the land of Haran, and all the families of the house of Abraham, and all the princes and grandees and the sons of Abraham, by the concubines, all came when they heard of Abraham's death. And they requited Abraham's kindness, and comforted Isaac his son. And they buried Abraham in the cave which he bought from Ephron, the Shittim, and his children, for the possession of the burial place. And all the inhabitants of Canaan and all those who had known Abraham wept for Abraham a whole year. And men and women mourned over him, and all the little children and all the inhabitants of the land wept on account of Abraham. For Abraham had been good to them all, because he had been upright with Elohim and men. And there arose not a man who feared Elohim like unto Abraham, for he had feared his Elohim from his youth, and had served Yahuwah, and had gone in all his ways during his life, from his childhood to the day of his death. And Yahuwah was with him, and delivered him from the counsel of Nimrod and his people. And when he made war with the 4 kings of Elam, he conquered them. And he brought all the children of the earth to the service of Elohim, and he taught them the ways of Yahuwah, and caused them to know Yahuwah. And he formed a grove, and he planted a vineyard therein, and he had always prepared in his tent. He had always prepared in his tent meat and drink to those that passed through the land, that they might satisfy themselves in his house. And Yahuwah Elohim delivered the whole earth on account of Abraham. And it was after the death of Abraham that Elohim blessed his son Isaac and his children. And Yahuwah was with Isaac as he had been with his father Abraham, for Isaac kept all the commandments of Yahuwah, as Abraham his father had commanded him. He did not turn to the right or to the left, or from the right path which his father had commanded him. And the next thing up here is future tense. Here it says, Esau slays Nimrod and 2 of his mighty men. Okay, he returns home, weary from the fight, and sells his birthright for value. All right, so chapter 27, page 348, Jasher reads, And Esau, at that time after the death of Abraham, frequently went in the field to hunt. And Nimrod, king of Babel, the same was Amraphel, also frequently went with his mighty men to hunt in the field and to walk about with his men in the cool of the day. And Nimrod was observing Esau all the days, for a jealousy was formed in the heart of Nimrod against Esau all the days. And on a certain day Esau went in the field to hunt, and he found Nimrod walking in the wilderness with his 2 men. And all his mighty men and his people were with him in the wilderness, but they removed at a distance from him, and they went from him in different directions to hunt. And Esau concealed himself to Nimrod, and he lurked for him in the wilderness. And Nimrod and his men that were with him did not know him. And Nimrod and his men frequently walked about in the field at the cool of the day, and to know where his men were hunting in the field. And Nimrod and 2 of his men that were with him came to the place where they were, when Esau started suddenly from his lurking place, and drew his sword, and hastened, and ran to Nimrod, and cut off his head. And Esau fought a desperate fight with the 2 men that were with Nimrod. And when they called out to him, Esau turned to them, and smote them to death with his sword. And all the mighty men of Nimrod who had left him to go to the wilderness heard the cry at a distance, and they knew the voices of those 2 men. And they ran to know the cause of it, where they found their king and the 2 men that were with him lying dead in the wilderness. And when Esau saw the mighty men of Nimrod coming at a distance, he fled, and thereby escaped. And Esau took the valuable garments of Nimrod, which Nimrod's father had bequeathed to Nimrod, and with which Nimrod prevailed over the whole land. And he ran and concealed them in his house. And Esau took those garments and ran into the city on account of Nimrod's men. And he came unto his father's house, wearied and exhausted from fight, and he was ready to die through grief when he approached his brother Yaakov and sat before him. And he said unto his brother Yaakov, or Jacob, Behold, I shall die this day, and wherefore then do I want the birthright? And Jacob acted wisely with Esau in this matter. And Esau sold his birthright to Yaakov, for it was so brought about by Yahuwah. And Esau's portion in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham had bought from the children of Cheth for the permission of a burial ground, Esau also sold to Yaakov. And Yaakov bought all this from his brother Esau for value given. And Yaakov wrote the whole of this in a sefer, and he testified the same with witnesses, and he sealed it, and the sefer remained in the hands of Yaakov. And when Nimrod the son of Cush died, his men lifted him up and brought him in consternation and buried him in his city. And all the days that Nimrod lived were 215 years, and he died. And the days that Nimrod reigned upon the people of the land were 185 years, And Nimrod died by the sword of Esau in shame and contempt, and the seed of Abraham caused his death as he had seen in his dream. And at the death of Nimrod, his kingdom became divided into many divisions. And all those parts that Nimrod reigned over were restored to the respective kings of the land, who recovered them after the death of Nimrod. And all the people of the house of Nimrod were for a long time enslaved to all the other kings of the land. Then it goes future tense. On account of famine, Yitzhak goes to Gerar, the land of the Pelishtim. After the famine, he returns at the command of Yahuwah to Chevron. Yaakov is sent to the house of Shem, where he remains 32 years to learn the way of Yahuwah. But Esau would not go. Esau marries a Canaanite woman. Okay. All right, so chapter 28, page 349, book of Jasher. And in those days, after the death of Abraham in that year, Yahuwah brought a heavy famine in the land. And while the famine was raging in the land of Canaan, Yitzhak rose up to go down to Mitzrayim on account of the famine, as his father Abraham had done. And Yahuwah appeared that night to Yitzhak, or Isaac, and he said to him, "Do not go down to Mitzrayim, but rise and go to Gerar, to Avimelech, king of the Pelishtim, and remain there till the famine shall cease." And Yitzhak rose up and went to Gerar, as Yahuwah commanded him, and he remained there a full year. And when Yitzhak came to Gerar, the people of the land saw that Rivkah, his woman, was of beautiful appearance. And the people of Gerar asked Yitzhak concerning his woman, and he said, "She is my sister," for he was afraid to say she was his woman, lest the people of the land should slay him on account of her. And the princes of Avimelech went and praised the woman to the king, but he answered them not, neither did he attend to their words. But he heard them say that Yitzhak declared her to be his sister, so the king reserved this within himself. And when Yitzhak had remained 3 months in the land, Avimelech looked out at the window, and he saw, and behold, Yitzhak was sporting with Rivkah, his woman, for Yitzhak dwelt in the outer house belonging to the king, so the house of Yitzhak was opposite the house of the king. And the king said unto Yitzhak, "What is this you have done to us in saying of your woman, she is my sister? How easily might one of the great men of the people have lain with her, and you would then have brought guilt upon us." And Yitzhak said unto Avimelech, "Because I was afraid lest I die on account of my woman, therefore I said, she is my sister." And at that time Avimelech gave orders to all his princes and great men that they took Yitzhak and Rivkah, his woman, and brought them before the king. And the king commanded that they should dress them in princely garments, and make them ride through the streets of the city, and proclaim before them throughout the land, saying, "This is the man, and this is his woman. Whosoever touches this man or his woman shall surely die." And Yitzhak returned with his woman to the king's house, and Yahuwah was with Yitzhak, and he continued to wax great and lacked nothing. And Yahuwah caused Yitzhak to find favor in the sight of Avimelech, and in the sight of all his subjects. And Avimelech acted well with Yitzhak, and Avimelech remembered the oath and the covenant that existed between his father and Abraham. And Avimelech said unto Yitzhak, "Behold, the whole earth is before you. Dwell wherever it may seem good in your sight, and you shall return to your land." And Avimelech gave Yitzhak fields and vineyards, and the best part of the land of Gerar, to sow and reap and eat the fruits of the ground, until the days of the famine should have passed by. And Yitzhak sowed in that land, and received 100-fold in the same year. And Yahuwah blessed him, and the man waxed great. And he had possessions of flocks, and possessions of herds, and great store of servants. And when the days of the famine had passed away, Yahuwah appeared to Yitzhak, and said unto him, "Rise up, Go forth from this place and return to your land, to the land of Canaan. And Isaac rose up and returned to Chevron, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all belonging to him, as Yahuwah commanded him. And after this, Shalach, the son of Arpachshad, died in that year, which is the 18th year of the lives of Jacob and Esau. And all the days that Shalach lived were 433 years, and he died. At that time, Isaac sent his younger son, Jacob, to the house of Shem and Eber, and he learned the instructions of Yahuwah, and Jacob remained in the house of Shem and Eber for 32 years. And Esau his brother did not go, for he was not willing to go, and he remained in his father's house in the land of Canaan. And Esau was continually hunting in the fields to bring home what he could get. So did Esau all the days. And Esau was a designing and deceitful man, one who hunted after the hearts of men and inveigled them. And Esau was a valiant man in the field, and in the course of time went as usual to hunt. And he came as far as the field of Seir. The same is Edom. And he remained in the land of Seir, hunting in the field 1 year and 4 months. And Esau there saw in the land of Seir the daughter of a man of Canaan, and her name was Yehudith, the daughter of Beeri, son of Epher, from the families of Cheth, the son of Canaan. And Esau took her for a woman, and he came unto her. 40 years old was Esau when he took her, and he brought her to Chevron, the land his father's dwelling place, the land of his father's dwelling place, and he dwelt there. And it came to pass in those days, in the 110th year of the life of Isaac, that is in the 15th year of the life of Jacob, in that year died Shem, the son of Noah. Shem was 600 years old at his death. And when Shem died, Jacob returned to his father to Chevron, which is in the land of Canaan. And in the 56th year of the life of Jacob, people came from Haran, and Rivkah was told concerning her brother Laban, the son of Bethuel. For the woman of Laban was barren in those days, and bore no children, and also all the handmaids bore none to him. And Yahuwah afterward remembered Adinah, the woman of Laban, and she conceived and bore twin daughters. And Laban called the names of his daughters the name of the elder Leah, and the name of the younger Rachel. And those people came and told these things to Rivkah, and Rivkah rejoiced greatly that Yahuwah had visited her brother, and that he had got children. Now next time when we get back, we're going to talk about how Jacob, by deceit, obtains his brother's blessing. Jacob, fearing his brother's anger, flees to the house of Eber, where he remains for 14 years. Esau marries a woman of the land. Jacob returns to his father, but being still threatened by Esau, is advised by his mother to go to her brother Laban in Haran. Jacob goes to Haran, being commanded by his father not to marry any of the daughters of Canaan. Jacob is waylaid on the road by the son of Esau, and is robbed of all he possessed. So we've got some stuff coming up next. It'll be chapter 29 in Jasher, page 350 when we come back.